Good evening， 大家好。我想跟大家先用中文、华文讲一件事，那就是李显龙总理昨天他有到来五吉巴都，趁那个机会来批评我。攻击我的人格，他用的话就是从联合晚报的报告，星期四的报告，这个报告它的头条 headlines 对不对？就是说徐顺全不后悔往日疯狂时，在星期六，李总理他在用这些话来攻击我。问题说，这句话疯狂时，我根本没有讲到。我讲的就是我很对我的这么多年的坚持，我觉得很骄傲。我们福建话就是说怕不会死，对不对？怕不会造。但是呢，联合晚报就把我的这句话我没有讲的放在他们的头条。早几天的时候，他们就把穆拉利跟我的照片放在他们的封面。那个穆拉利的照片，就他在笑嘻嘻，真的很好看。我的整个脸是很臭臭那样子呢，所以我在我的 Facebook 的时候，我就有写，我写说你们媒体也是要比较公平一点。我没有攻击他们，我只是一个要求，你回去我的 Facebook 去看一看，只叫大家说比较公平一点，不要每次都放我的很不好看的一个照片，你放行动党的就很好看。这个很大的影响，我跟你们讲说，这么多年来，会有很大的影响。但是后来他看到我写在这个 Facebook 的时候，他们就 email， 他就讲说，他们可以不可以访问我？叫我说，好了，我们坐下来，我们好像是比较可以商量一下子，聊天一下子，对不对？好，我们两边可以互相了解。英文他就写说 ，Would Dr. Chee care to sit down with us for a more in-depth conversation that would help both sides understand each other better？ 那我说好，好，不要再计较，不要再闹，不要再吵了。所以没有关系，我们就在那个乌吉巴都的 Central 那边有个联络所咖啡店，对不对？我去买一杯咖啡，他们3个，他们就访问我。讲了大概有45分钟那样子，那天晚上的晚报，他们就把这个头条登出来。那我们跟你讲说，你哪里可以这样做？我没有讲的话，你把它设进去，说我说的，然后让行动党来拿来攻击我。他们就说跟我们道歉，他就说那个已经登了，没有办法。但是他们的网站，他的头条，他就跟他改。你如果没有做错，你何必要改呢？对不对？我跟你讲说，这个是真的很不公平，你们这样子做，我觉得很不好。I did it in good faith， 我好意的讲说，不用，你们要访问我，我说好。但是你们这样子做，真的让我很失望。 然后今天马来报、印度报Straits Times 什么都把它登出来，李总理所讲的。我常常跟媒体讲，说你们要比较公平一点。我没有叫说你们要支持我们，但是你们登的、你们访问我们的，不要每次都让我们好像往很坏的来报告。乌鸡巴都选民，这个你们真的要小心。你们要跟你们邻居讲、朋友讲，不要相信这个晚报报告。你们如果有跟他们吃早餐，很多没有来，你们去跟他们吃早餐、喝咖啡的时候，你们跟他解释一下子。我是觉得你这样子做，我觉得很不好的一个方法。没有人100%完全好，没有人100%完全不好。我是希望说我们真挚的、政党的，我们不要一直批评个人，不要一直说那个候选人他的人格很不好。我们如果能够提出我们的计划，让选民看哪一边方面比较好，哪一边比较的计划还比较好，那我是觉得政治是应该这样子下去做的，好不好？我在下一个群众大会，我会再把我们的社区服务的计划，我会再多讲，多跟你们解释。现在我很想，我会在这个方面，我这用英文来跟你们讲一讲，好不好？谢谢你们支持民主党，投我们的票，谢谢大家 ，Thank you so much. Hello again, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's always an experience when you attend election rallies, because then you get to hear what politicians from both sides say about each other. But frankly, I hate the word politician. I cringe whenever people say that I'm a politician. Maybe it's because the word has become synonymous with hypocrisy. Saying one thing and doing another. But I stand by what I said. We will not engage in below-the-belt politics. I said yesterday, I said the last rally, and I'll repeat it today, the David Ong affair is off the table. I think one of our speakers may have cracked a joke about it at our last rally. I've told my colleagues in no uncertain terms, cut it out. You did not hear any of the speakers mention the David Ong affair tonight. And it'll stay that way for the rest of the campaign. Now then, let me turn the question to Mr. Lee Hsien Loong. Will he and his colleagues now honor Mr. Tharman's promise and stop the gutter politics and focus on issues that really matter to the voters here in Bukit Batok? But I sometimes think that it's like talking to a wall. This kind of behavior seems to be baked into the PAP's DNA. Whenever the opposition talks about issues like withholding our CPF money, the non-transparency of GIC and Temasek holdings, the high cost of living, the PAP knows it's hard to defend these policies. But that's the PAP. They don't tell you how they can be better than their opponents. They tell you how bad the opposition is by running smear campaigns so that you will vote for the PAP by default. They don't consider their own hypocrisy. Let me cite you a couple of examples. The first one. Ms. Grace Fu tried to paint us as racist. Find me, ladies and gentlemen, find me anywhere the SDP has said that it's remotely racist. It's not hard to do in this day and age. Do a search on the internet and tell us if we've said anything racist. And yet, Grace Fu, without feeling even a bit paiseh, ignored her own party's statements, racist statements. You remember Chu Wee Kiang? He's in jail now, I think. He said the Little India was Hey Chee because there were so many Indians there. Another PAP member said that a busload of kindergarten Malay students resemble terrorist trainees. More recently, PAP MP Denise Phua had to apologize because she made some disparaging remarks about foreign workers in Little India. Even Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, the late Lee Kuan Yew, made disparaging remarks about the Malays for which he had to apologize. And yet, Grace Fu can stand there with a straight face and insinuate that SDP is racist. Example 2. Halimah Yacob said that Singaporeans are Asian and we respect our elders. But then Singapore is about the only Asian country that continues to make our elderly people work to clean tables and wash toilets. I've had friends and relatives visit from overseas, and I go out to the hawker centers to eat with them. And they express shock when they see our amas and akongs have to continue to toil in such back-breaking jobs just to eke out a living. Respect our elders? Really? Yesterday, Mr. Lee Hsien Loong visited the town and used the occasion to question my character. I want to say this. Up until tonight, I have never brought up the issue of what his sister, Dr. Lee Wei Ling, said about him. You can search for it online or anywhere else, but you won't find anything I said about the incident because I never made any. I had ample opportunity to attack him on this, but I did not. And it would have been a very potent attack because this is not your political opponent saying it. It is your own flesh and blood making these statements about you. Now, I want you all to imagine if it had been my sister saying these things about me, what do you think would have happened? Do you think that the PAP would have gone to town with this? Do you not think that all the newspapers, Channel 5, Channel 8, Channel News Asia, would all have been running this news with the reporters camped outside my house, camped outside my sister's house for days and weeks, trying to get comments to add fuel to the fire, and then interviewed SDP members, interviewed my friends, interviewed my former classmates, interviewed my teachers to prolong the saga and make sure that every man and woman, boy and girl in Singapore knew about the matter? I bring up this incident because I want to show you that even though I had the perfect opportunity, I refrained from using Dr. Lee Wei Ling's the dispute with a brother. Because that's not the kind of politics that I want to engage in. And even though I did not attack Mr. Lee, he has no hesitation in continuing to disparage me. I may not agree with his policies or his political ideas, but I would not attack him on such a personal level. You say that the SDP is racist when your own members, leaders, make racist remarks. You say that I don't respect the elders when you treat our elderly people in such a heartless and disgraceful manner, and you attack my character. Please, my fellow Singaporeans, please don't fall for it. No one is as good as the PAP says they are. No one is as bad as the PAP says he is. We are all human beings. We have our weaknesses and we have our strengths. We all make mistakes. But please, let's not glorify ourselves and demonize our opponents for our own political gain. Instead, let us appeal to the voters who has the better ideas to serve them. In other words, let us appeal to hope and promise, not dirt and slime. Lee Hsien Loong and Grace Fu will even try to smear me by saying that I'm not working and trying to turn you off from voting for me. This is a new low. I said yesterday that in life, we have choices and priorities to make. After I was sacked by the NUS, after joining the SDP, many people asked me to leave Singapore. I had offers from universities in the US, and I could have left to continue my profession as a neuropsychologist there. I had a choice. I made that choice. And I chose to stay. I chose to concentrate on my political work here in Singapore, which included reading up about the political system, the education system, the economy, the CPF system, and so on, because I wanted to be knowledgeable about them. And then I started writing about these matters and published several books. Dare to Change, Singapore, My Home Too, Your Future, My Faith, Our Freedom, A Nation Cheated, and the latest, Democratically Speaking. And some of the ideas in these books went into SDP's policy papers that you see today. Many of the ideas, I might add, have been copied by the PAP. These books sold relatively well, especially during elections and times like these. And this has allowed me to provide for my family. But we had to live simply, because if we wanted to live in a big house, then I would have had to continue in academia or leave Singapore. Again, it was a choice that my wife made and I had to make. Looking back, I'm glad we made that choice. I don't make a ton of money like I could have if I had remained at NUS. But we don't feel sad. Absolutely no regrets. You ask me, why? I ask you, why not? Do we always have to measure success by how much money we make? No, of course not. Sometimes it's better to measure success by how much we can better the lives of others. That's why I find it really in bad taste when Ms. Grace Fu and Ms. Lee Hsien Loong try to tell you that because I don't make a lot of money like them, then I'm not working and therefore I cannot take care of Bukit Batok. The truth is that I have been working every single day to not just keep the SDP together, but build it up. And to think and propose and write about ideas for Singapore. I just have not asked to be paid or paid a lot. I want to remind you, my friends, SDP was not like what it is today. In the 1990s, we couldn't even afford an office. We had to hold our meetings at the Kopitiam, somewhere here in Bukit Batok. I spent much of my time writing and then selling our newspaper called The New Democrat, just to make some money so that we can have enough to rent an office. At the beginning, we rented a little attic at Balestier Road that cost us only $500 a month. I also had to learn how to use the software to start a website. And so I sat and updated it every day. And when YouTube came along, I learned how to make videos. At that time, May was looking after our daughter, Ann Lin. We had only one then. In between, looking after her and doing our chores, she would help me with things like folding letters, licking stamps, faxing messages, answering phone calls, and so on. It was tough. But we were not unhappy. In fact, we derived a sense of reward. It's just that that reward was not money. It was something more intrinsic. It was driven by a sense of mission, a sense that we were doing something important for Singapore. That experience, all these years, it brought us closer. I asked Miss Grace Fu not to denigrate people who don't live the kind of rich lifestyle that she does. Maybe, just maybe, we like it better this way. We may not be as rich, but we are just as happy, if not happier. It went on like this for many years, and slowly, especially with the help of the internet, people started to see what we were doing. They started to join us, and SDP started to grow. And from just May and I sitting in the office, I am so proud to tell you today that we have an honest-to-goodness party apparatus with first-class ground operations, communications, fundraising, secretariat, logistics, IT, and policy research teams. Our policy unit, for example, has drawn up credible policy papers, which many experts have commended us for, and which even PAP ministers and MPs have echoed. In fact, there is a joke going around that the SDP is an unpaid research arm of the government. Look at some of the work we've produced. We couldn't have done all this if we were not a competent party. Our members don't have anything to gain. No perks, no junket trips, no free car park labels, no priority for school registration for our children. Just pure passion and dedication to bring about democracy in Singapore, where our voices are heard. That's the kind of passion and dedication that we will bring to Bukit Batok, and to make this town the community that we all want it to be. A place where neighbor greets neighbor, where the better off give those less well off a compassionate hand up, where we come home to a town we are all proud of. We have built up the SDP with few resources. We have no funding from the state, and yet we have built ourselves up to become one of the leading opposition parties in Singapore. We have done all this without state funding. Now just imagine what we can accomplish for Bukit Batok if we have funding to do our work. Imagine the quality of life Bukit Batok residents would experience. Imagine the attention you would get, not just from me as your full-time MP, but also from our members who will transfer their attention to taking care of the constituency and attending to your needs. I've not been working? That's not true. I've been working very, very much and very, very hard. It's just that I have not been asking to be paid very, very much money. Sometime back, Ms. Grace Fu had posted on her own Facebook, for which she was fiercely criticized by netizens, that she would think twice about serving in politics if ministers' salaries were cut. Someone like her wouldn't understand what it means to work with a dedicated sense of mission, and not just for monetary gain. I'm not saying that it's wrong for her to want to be rich, but that it is wrong that she should look down and mock people who don't see getting rich in public life as a motivating factor. My friends, don't be impressed by titles and wealth and power. Instead, be impressed by commitment, dedication, and compassion, because the former serves the individual, the latter serves humanity. To build up a party, you need to inspire people. You need to motivate members and volunteers. You need to lead by example. You need to provide a sense of direction, and most of all, you need to be there. You need to lead from the front, and you need to do it full time. In the first rally, I talked about how we're going to run the town council. And we've already put together a transition team. We have to effect a smooth takeover of the town council and how we're going to effectively manage the Bukit Batok housing estate. That is our top priority. Tonight, I want to lay out the SDP's plans on how we're going to take care of not just the estate, but the quality of your lives. We have announced our program, and we called it We Are One. We are Bukit Batok. And this will help to improve the well-being of Bukit Batok residents. And this initiative is designed to uplift Bukit Batok community and bond our residents into a town where compassion and grace is a way of life, where we bring back the gotong royong spirit of neighborliness, where no voice is left unheard and no one is left behind. A home, as I said, where neighbor greets neighbor, where the better off lend a helping hand and friends look out for one another. Our first initiative under this program is called Hearts for Bukit Batok. This project will create a caring community for our elderly and our low-income residents by encouraging and facilitating households in Bukit Batok to adopt a needy family in the community by contributing their time and resources to the family's well-being. This will bring our community closer together and forge strong bonds between fellow residents. It will enrich the lives of both the receiver and the giver. The the SDP will also set up and manage a trust fund that will raise funds to assist Bukit Batok's elderly poor with monthly stipends or food vouchers. If elected, I will use my MP's allowance to kickstart the fund and assist some of these families. The second initiative is for Bukit Batok youth, called the Pathfinder. This program is aimed at creating an environment conducive for students to build confidence and develop their potential. It is a place where students come together to discover themselves, explore their interests and talents, or simply find someone to listen to them. Pathfinder will also provide subsidized funding, private tuition, for students from lower income families. We sorely lack an entrepreneurial culture, and Pathfinder will help to nurture the creative impulses of our children. We will do this by facilitating projects for them to read widely, to interact and collaborate with one another, to propose and exchange ideas, to make mistakes, and learn from them. They're all building blocks of an innovative culture. Friends, if you have school-going children and you have to go to work, this proposal will make much sense to you and your children. We'll have someone to help see them through their schooling years and prepare them for the future economy. The third initiative that we will implement is our Dollars and Cents project. As times get tougher in the months and years ahead, more and more people of you will need advice on how to manage their finances. We have a team of financial experts headed by Mr. Tan Kin Lian, who is currently the president of the Financial Services Consumer Association and former CEO of NTUC Income, who will meet with the residents who are facing financial difficulties and give them advice on how to move ahead. Lastly, we have a team of lawyers who will provide legal advice on a pro bono basis, that is free of charge, called Legal Lifeline. This initiative provides the first step of assistance to residents who face legal situations. Running an efficient town council is not a difficult task. We've done it before. If you put the right people in the right places, you will run an efficient and productive office. And we intend to do just that. What is more difficult, however, is to ensure that the everyday concerns of the people are addressed. That your well-being, your quality of life is not compromised. There's one thing about keeping the lift landings clean and our corridors swept. On this, the SDP will spare no effort to ensure the highest standards of maintenance. But attending to the problems that you, the residents, face is quite another. On this score, I will dedicate myself full-time to ensuring that the residents' needs are seen to. You can employ professional staff and even engage a managing agent to run your town council for you. But you cannot outsource the tending of the needs of the residents to a contractor. Without the personal attention of the MP, many of your problems are either palmed off or given lip service. In addition, without personal knowledge of these problems, how does an MP help to craft policies in Parliament that would help the people? I mentioned the two roles that an MP must play. The first is taking care of the estate, and the second is attending to your needs as residents. There is a third part, that is to represent the residents' views in Parliament and make laws or policies to help the people. To do this, one must speak up without fear. My friends, how often do you think you are going to hear Mr. Murali speak up for you in Parliament if he is elected? Whether it's the withholding of your CPF savings, the rising cost of living, or financial assistance if you get retrenched, hand on heart. How often, how hard do you think Mr. Murali is going to fight for you if he is your MP? I've been around talking to Singaporeans for nearly 25 years. And during this time, I've listened to you, and I've spoken with you, and I've written about your problems and the problems that people here in Bukit Batok face. They are not very different from others around Singapore. As I explained in the first rally, Singapore is going through a very tough time, and the situation is set to get worse. Much worse. Every day, we are reading about more and more Singaporeans getting retrenched. Folks, this is serious. From last March to February this year, there were hundreds of PMETs who were retrenched and who needed help. A more than 50% jump from the previous year. Think about that. The company which owns leading retail chains like Robinsons, John Little, Zara, Marks and Spencer, Royal Sporting House, etc., has announced that it will close several stores in the second half of this year. Worse, fewer jobs are being created for Singaporeans. Last year, 31,800 jobs were created. Out of this, only 100 or 0.3% went to Singaporeans and permanent residents. The rest of the 99.7% went to foreign workers. But this is what gets me really mad, really upset, that it should make you upset too. Last year, Foreign Minister Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan was in Indonesia, and he told the Indonesian government that the PAP will help to come up with a scheme to recruit Indonesian graduates. I don't want to misrepresent what he said, so I will quote him as the Straits Times reported it. He said, and I quote, "We believe Indonesian universities and technical institutes will produce many graduates with digital skills, that we are thinking of launching a scheme in which Singapore companies which are looking for talent will be able to recruit talent here, deploy them here, and provide services for the rest of the world." Unquote. He was speaking in Indonesia. The question I have is, why is a foreign minister going to another country and helping to come up with a scheme to help the graduates of that country? Why can't our government spend its energy on our companies in our own country to create jobs for our own graduates instead of discouraging our young people from pursuing university education? Minister Juan said, and I quote, "If graduates cannot find jobs, what's the point? You own a degree, but so what? That you cannot eat. If that cannot give you a good life, a good job, it is meaningless," he said. Ms. Indrani Raja, when she was the Minister of State for Education, also discouraged poly and IT graduates from pursuing a university education. But that's not all, my friends. While Mr. Juan says no need to get a degree, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan wants to help our companies recruit graduates from Indonesia. Do you know what the PAP is doing? It is giving financial assistance to foreign students to study at our universities. Listen to this. Non-Singaporean students make up about 15 to 20% of the total number of university students in Singapore. And I hear that it's actually more than that. About 1,700 scholarships are given to students from non-ASEAN countries each year to study in our universities. These scholarships amount to between $18,000 to $25,000 for one undergraduate. This is non-ASEAN countries. Another 150 scholarships are awarded to students from ASEAN countries. All these scholarships cost the Singaporean public $36 million each year. In addition, almost all non-Singaporean students receive tuition grants from the MOE in return for a bond to work in Singapore for 3 years upon graduation. These grants amount to more than $210 million a year. What sort of government discourages its own people from pursuing university education and then gives out hundreds of millions of dollars to foreign students to come here to study? Does that make sense to you? In fact, there are many scholarships in Singapore which Singaporeans are barred from applying. What is happening? And what happens when the world changes, which is what is happening all the time, and the economy then demands university graduates with the necessary skills? Then what? What will Mr. Kaur and Ms. Indrani Raja tell those who heeded their advice and did not pursue a degree while they could? If our youngsters want to pursue higher education while they can, and they are discouraged from doing so, they could miss the window of opportunity and regret it for the rest of their lives if the economy changes and the PAP changes its mind. It is not the place of the government to tell the people what kind of degree they should pursue. Worse, it should not be doing this because it fears that there will be too many graduates without jobs. Rather, the government's responsibility is to ensure that it facilitates an economy that will provide the maximum number of jobs for the talent that our schools and universities produce. The bleak economic outlook is made worse by the fact that the PAP is making tons of money from the people through land usage in Singapore. Land is being sold by the government at a huge profit. The government is the largest landowner and landlord in Singapore. It owns huge plots of land throughout the island, and it determines the price at which each parcel of land is sold to the HDB and to private developers. This means that the government controls sale prices of new HDB flats, commercial rental, and tender prices for private developers. Not only that, the PAP then sets up giant companies like Capital Land and Maple Tree to further make money from real estate. Businesses have to rent or buy office space, and the higher the rentals and commercial property prices, the higher the overheads for these businesses. These overheads, their costs, are passed on to the consumer. In other words, high land prices mean higher rentals, which means the things that we buy are more expensive. And when land gets too expensive, even international businesses cannot survive here. Retail giants, I mentioned earlier, cannot take the high rental in Singapore and have moved out or will move out. Go down to Orchard Road and you see many shops shuttered nowadays. Even oil companies like Technip, McDermott, Subsea 7 have all relocated to KL, and they cite high real estate costs as a reason. I've heard over and over again how hard it is for business to survive in this high-cost environment. All they seem to be doing is collecting rent for the government. And when these companies close down or move out of Singapore, you, my friends, you are the ones who are going to get retrenched. Remember, the land belongs to all of us, and it shouldn't be used by the government for profit to make life so stressful and so tough for the citizens. Instead, land should be used for the common good of all the people and to make life easier, not harder for us. I will raise this issue in Parliament if elected and press the government to re-examine its land pricing policy and ensure that it helps both the business owner as well as you, the consumer. I bring up all these issues and provide you all the numbers, the quotes, the facts, because I want to make sense to you. I don't want to just stand here and just say bad things about the PAP. That doesn't help you. If I cannot make sense to you, then I have no right, absolutely no right to ask you to vote for me. I do this to tell you, to warn you about the urgency of the situation that we and our nation are confronted with. And this is the crucial difference between Mr. Murali and I. One will take care of you on a part-time basis, the other full-time. One will not and cannot speak up for you in Parliament, the other will. If one is going to discharge the responsibility of an MP, well, then I don't see how you can do it on the weekends only. I just cannot see how you can do this on a part-time basis. You work in your office 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and by the time you're done, you're so tired you won't have the energy to give your all. And I mean all. Not outsourcing your work to managing agents and grassroots volunteers. As I spelled out at the beginning of my speech, I will personally see to the success of the social programs we have laid out, whether it is Hearts for Bukit Batok or Pathfinder or the legal clinic. And the reason why I am able to say this, the reason that I dare to commit to these projects, is because I will do the work full time and will be able to give you my undivided attention. Now let's be honest. Mr. Murali's priority is first and foremost to his paying clients and his firm's bosses. Let's not kid ourselves. I don't mean to single him out. He's not the only one in the PAP doing the MP's job on a part-time basis. PAP MPs hold lucrative jobs and even hold multiple directorships in businesses and companies. I don't know whether this is true or not, but I've heard that one holds as many as 64 directorships. How do you find time to serve the people? My friends, you cannot serve two masters at the same time. I believe with all my heart that having had that experience with the SDP, if you want to lead Bukit Batok, if you want to do everything that I promised that we would do, then you have to lead from the front and you have to lead it full time and give your undivided attention to the residents. I will be a competent, constructive, and compassionate MP, one that Bukit Batok voters will be proud of. In fact, I don't want to be just an MP. I want to be that spark, that catalyst, that brings out the best in the people of Bukit Batok. I want to inspire all of us here in this town to reach for the best, to always look forward to tomorrow, no matter how difficult things are today. I want to appeal to the better angels in all of us and to discover that side of our community that we didn't know we had, so that together we can build a compassionate town, a town that will, dare I dream, become the model and one day spread to all of Singapore. If there was an election here right now, and my choice is between a lucrative job in Shenton Way and a full-time MP for Bukit Batok here, I wouldn't even have to think. I would vote for Bukit Batok in a heartbeat. When you walk into the voting booth on Saturday, my friends, vote for the candidate who votes for Bukit Batok. Vote for the candidate who will serve you, not just with words, but with action. Vote for the candidate who will work for you full time. Vote for the candidate who has the last 25 years chosen to stay here in Singapore. Vote for the candidate who stands up for you every day and who will stand up for you for the rest of my days. Vote for me. Vote for SDP. Thank you. Good night. Thank you,
Dr.
everybody.
Chee.